can just make it to Thursday, and lo and behold, we do. Dumelang bagaetsho, I'm Tebogo Tinti, and welcome to Agenda. On the agenda today, the topic is nature versus nurture. I have been wanting to talk about this topic for the longest of time, but that I just couldn't figure out my starting point. So now I decided that I'm just gonna start where I start, because if I keep waiting for the perfect starting point, I will never talk about this, because there is no perfect starting point when it comes to nature and nurture. So, one of the very many things that I'm passionate about, there is one that stands head and shoulders above the rest, and that is the well being of children. I take it so personally because I've always said to myself that I want to be to kids whom I needed when I was a kid. And that is why kids' well being is such an interesting topic for me, and a topic that I am highly, highly invested in. If there's a movie that has to do with children and their well being, I'm watching. If there are documentaries about the well being of children and how children turn out because of nature versus nurture, I am watching. I've watched children who started very young, and they became great. I've watched documentaries about kids who didn't become so great, who just became serial unalivers or criminals, convicted at that, and some are no longer alive. And I've watched documentaries about kids who have succeeded, who have went on to do great things in their lives, and the topic always goes back to nature versus nurture. We also know that it has been said many times that kids can be born in the same household but not have the same childhood. And true as that may be, the statement in itself is just incorrect, or the narrative is not well balanced, because I believe that the truer statement when it comes to that is the nature part. Nature meaning kids can be of, like, multiple kids can be of both the same mother and father, and that's the nature. But the nurture is definitely going to be different, because parents also change, parents also evolve, parents also go through things, because where there is life, there is growth, and where there is growth, there is change. For example, I have siblings. I have an older sister, and we are of the same mom and dad, but we don't have the same childhood or the same upbringing. And the nature is the same, but the nurture isn't, because we are 4 years apart, and a lot can happen in 4 years. So the parents that had my sister were not the same parents that had me 4 years later, because they grew, they changed, things happened, and that is what life is. And when it comes to raising multiples, some parents with the first kid are more patient, are more willing to learn, are more in love, have more money, or the opposite. By the time they have the second child, the tables are different, or it's better. They have more money than they had before, or they have less money, or they are more in love than they've ever been, or they are apart, because life does what life does. It changes. When it comes to life, there is nothing as constant as change. So nature versus nurture, it all boils down to nurture. Kids turn out the way that you raise them to turn out. And I would hear also so many parents say, I've done everything for this kid. I don't know what they want. I don't know what more I could have done. Well, have you ever asked? And that is always the thing. Parents say, I didn't have to ask. I knew what my child needed. You didn't. You didn't. You knew how to do the natural thing. The natural thing is raise them, feed them, put a roof over their heads, and clothe them. Did you nurture them the way that they wanted to be nurtured? I doubt. Again, I'll make an example with my sister and I. We are polar opposites. My sister is very independent. Independent and dependent. And she cares about a lot of things. She cares about people. She will call you back. Like she's a person that will call you back. I don't I'll call you back like after 7 years. I don't care about a lot of those things. I don't care about I'm just gonna leave it at that. We are just polar opposites. So it could be because we were nurtured differently. There's a possibility. And I'm saying this to say a lot of us as parents, we always say that we do everything that we can, we do our best for our kids. Are we? Do we know what is best for our kids? Because I'm raising a son. I'm a boy mom. I'm raising a son, and every other day I need to check in. Even when I introduce things to him, I need to ask myself, well, is this what I want for him, or is this what he wants for himself? And a lot of the time, and a lot of the times, and a lot of things that I introduce to him, is what I want for him. It's very seldom what he wants for himself. And when I do give him a chance to speak and listen, because as parents sometimes you know, we decided that kids don't know anything. We've decided that kids don't know themselves. We've decided that we know better because we are parents. When I listen to him, and when I allow him to tell me what he wants, I then realize that it's absolute the complete opposite of what I would have wanted for him. And sometimes we make it light, we make it a guessing game. And that's how I got to know my son, by playing guessing games. And oftentimes I find myself saying to him, I never would have guessed that. I never would have guessed that. But now that I know, I'm glad that I do. And I support you. So the nurture versus nature, when it comes to kids as parents, we miss the mark. And we miss the mark, got a very huge gap. We have this rule that bana ba tlo utlwa ka rona. And that causes a lot of confusion, it causes a lot of rejection, it causes a lot of depression in children. And when we say our kids are stressed out, we always say, oh, stress again, because you don't even have any responsibility. Your only responsibility is just go to school, focus on your schoolwork, come home and do your chores, and that's it. We forget that these kids are developing personalities. They are discovering the world. They are facing, and that the times that we live in now, they are facing the world 10 times busier than it was when we were their age. Not even 10 times, like 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. That's how much they have to deal with on a daily basis, and we never take the time to hear them out. The nature might be good, but the nurture is what we are neglecting. And with this said, I think this would be a part one. Maybe I'll do a part two, because there is still a lot to unpack. But what I will encourage you to do, especially if if you're a parent to a child, a young adult who is below the age of 20, send them up for Agender, because I have developed a system that is not only good for the parents, but is good for the kids. And when a child is happy, a parent is happier. When a child is safe, a parent is happier. And my parting shot for now is going to be this: be to your child who you needed when you were a child.